Lest you think, Stugotz, that I am a prisoner of the moment, I'm going to go through the ones from memory in my head that felt the worst. You got 2 national championship games that the University of Miami lost because they committed 1 million turnovers, and one of them was decided by a penalty flag.
Mm-hmm.
That was not. Neither one was as bad as Saturday night was. You've got losses to Middle Tennessee State. You've got losses to FIU. You've got a loss that closed the Orange Bowl, losing by 7 touchdowns to Virginia. You have a probation loss to FSU.
Yeah.
That was by 1 million points. Saturday night was the worst loss in program history.
Wow.
Billy, why are you
That's
laughing?
too much.
I don't think it's too much.
The worst in program history?
I
Come
don't-
on.
They lost to Penn State in a national championship game.
I just mentioned that. That was the first thing that I mentioned.
Steve Martin.
It was the very first thing that I mentioned.
Yeah.
They
It's
lost
a long time ago, though.
They lost 2 national championship games. But what has never happened is what happened to me on Sunday morning. I'm scrolling through on satellite radio that patch of sports channels from 80 to 87 or whatever before Netflix is a joke. And I'm scrolling, and each of the channels is speaking about this, including Jason Jackson's NBA show.
What?
With Amin El-Hassan. I thought, surely it will stop. Surely if I keep going to the right and get into NASCAR and
Stay in your lane. I mean,
surely it will stop. But everybody was talking about how they lost because, Stugotz, and this is the reason I say it is the worst loss in program history. We could legitimately play that minute over 10 million times and not get the result that ends with not just Miami losing, but Miami fumbling, Miami allowing 75 yards to that offense at the end of the game with 30 seconds left.
also, without them taking a knee.
Well, that's the start of it. That's why every channel on satellite radio was saying the same thing, which is, what idiots. Like nobody was saying anything different. It was just a consensus of everybody Sunday morning was talking about how can you lose that way, where the coach knows he has to take a knee and he doesn't take a knee and he just hands it off. And another reason, Stugotz, that I say it's the worst loss in program history. I don't know if you remember the Miracle at the Meadowlands. It was 1978. And it was so long ago that back then coaches thought kneeling was dishonorable. So no one did it. There was a league-wide feeling among coaches that kneeling...
That's not true, Dan.
It is true.
Like when you're playing your friends in Madden?
It is true that kneeling is...
You don't take a knee.
That
Yeah.
you keep playing, okay? But Zonka was in the Giants huddle at the end of his career with hairy forearms, and he's like, don't hand me the ball. Don't hand me the ball. I don't want... And by the way, it was a game between 3rd and 4th place teams. Like a meaningless game, but the reason it's remembered 50 years later is because they fumbled when they could have knelt, and Herm Edwards takes back a touchdown, and Philadelphia ends up winning. 50 years later, they still talk about it. But I'm going to go here to Mike and ask him if he's ever felt worse than he felt about his program on Saturday night, his birthday weekend, where you not only lose, but you lose like that. Do you think it's overstatement for me to say that it's the worst loss in the history of the program?
Appreciate us finally starting a local hour with Canes Talk
When's your birthday?
today.
Oh,
Happy birthday.
happy
Thank
birthday,
you.
Mike.
Wait.
Yeah.
Aren't you having a party like a week from now?
No, the invite that you got was for Friday. It was great seeing you.
I thought it was the 16th.
Nah, it's all right, though.
Hold on a second.
I didn't get one.
Wait a minute.
I didn't get one.
I had the exact same experience.
I would have been
You
there.
thought
It
it
was
was a
free.
16th
Yeah.
I thought
no.
it was on a Monday for some reason. I'm like, that's a weird day for a party.
Hold on.
So other people were there, but you weren't.
The sound doesn't work on the Stephen A. Happy birthday.
Oh, it's too bad.
It is too bad.
Happy birthday.
Why weren't you guys there? Nobody went?
Where?
They all thought it was a different day, apparently.
I was there.
Yeah,
I
appreciate
got
it.
it a Thursday. I thought it said the 16th. I'm like, okay, that's fine. Like, mark my calendar. And that's a Monday.
Were you there?
Yes.
You were.
You were?
Where was it?
It was down here. You weren't going to go.
Oh, so you didn't send me an invite?
No, I didn't even.
Well, thank you.
No better.
Thank you for not
Yeah.
making me lie.
Yeah.
I mean,
Big shakeup in the BCS this week. Huge.
BCS, Miami was ranked number 1.
not this week.
They lost to a 19-point underdog.
Yeah, Dan, look, in terms of, there have been certainly far more devastating losses, far more impactful. If you want to look at impact, I'd argue it's not even the most disastrous Georgia Tech result. In 2005, they were the number 3 team in the country. There was a game at the Orange Bowl where the lights weren't working properly. All Miami has to do is win that game as a double-digit favorite, and they back into a national title game in 2005, and they lose that game to Calvin Johnson and Reggie Ball, I think, was a quarterback at the time. So, yeah, not even the most hurtful, memorable Georgia Tech
Not
loss.
in terms of stakes. I'm not
Yeah.
talking about stakes. I'm talking
Yeah.
about the country laughing at
Yeah,
you.
no, the country laughing is, a huge part of all this. It's stupid. Tell you what? Why don't you just ask me a pointed question, because I don't want to get accused
You
of
don't think
deflecting
it's
or
the
anything like
worst
that.
loss in program
No,
history?
FIU, Middle Tennessee State, those were worse losses. I'd say maybe even last year against FSU. I know you mentioned the FSU when they had the death penalty stuff surrounding it. They're worse. Last year was such a bad year.
Mike, you're trying to get to a playoff, though. All you had to do was take a knee.
Well, I think this season I've been pretty rational about what I thought. I think last week was a big rat poison week where we kind of started getting excited. Hey, maybe Texas A&M isn't a bad team, and maybe this season can be a year ahead of schedule, and maybe it's more of a special year. But entering this whole experience with Coach Cristobal, we said that he was going to lose dumb ones. I don't think we ever could imagine one that dumb. Entering this season, after the surprise of how bad last year was, thought, 9 wins is a good year. I'm not going to be foolish enough to not look at the progress made year over year. That being said, if you're going to have a special season, there are going to be games that you need to just survive. FSU's already had one at Boston College. Miami had survived that game. And there was a lot of ego that went into that
played
final.
really poorly, by the way.
Yeah,
Van Dyke was really bad.
Van
in
Dyke
that
was
game.
terrible. Everyone said that, Georgia Tech did what they had to do to be in position to win that game, and Miami played poorly. If you look at the offensive output, they were who they've been all season. It's just Tyler Van Dyke's turning the ball over, and they lose a turnover battle. If you look at that final drive when they're salting the game away, I was irate in my seats because they're snapping the ball with 4 seconds left on the play clock, 6 seconds left on the play clock.
No, he does that all the time. Mike, this is what I'm telling you. He did it at Oregon all the time. They lost to Stanford and a backup quarterback in a game. I didn't understand how they lost, and it's because he was doing that. There was no clock management.
No, it's terrible.
It's
terrible.
really bad.
A lot of people were doing that Stanford-Oregon game, and I think when we hired Cristobal, the first segment you and I mentioned that game specifically because we both bet on that game, and we're like, man, he finds ways to lose, and that's going to be part of the Mario Cristobal experience. But when it comes to national championship probabilities, he does check the most important box, which is talent acquisition. That being said, that final drive was disastrous. They should have been kneeling not just in that one play that everyone was looking at. They should have been kneeling from the first down. I was screaming in desperate hope that someone would hear me. And then when Chaney runs the ball, it was a shock that it was called on the field a fumble. It didn't look like a fumble as it happened. No, it was very clearly not a fumble, but you don't kneel, you tempt fate, and bad officials that have been bad the entire game are going to take the opportunity to teach you a lesson, and no one's going to be on your side. It's galvanized everybody. For the first time ever, we're not blaming officials anymore because we all know how soaked in ego and how stupid that moment was. And I will tell you that if you think that Mario Cristobal didn't know the game situation, that it's just no one on the staff knew the scenarios, you're sadly mistaken. There was a conscious effort there to just run the ball. They haven't knelt all season long.
It makes it worse that he knew.
Yeah, you can make that argument. I don't know if the motivation was to get Chaney to 100 yards. I don't know if the motivation was to make the final score look a little bit better as you're trying to get style points in the modern age. It was bad. You had to survive an advanced game. You survived it. You played like crap. And headed into that North Carolina game, it would have been great to just survive, keep an undefeated season going, and a huge embarrassment of a loss. And anything that you want to say about Mario Cristobal, you're certainly justified in saying it. That was terrible. He turned a win into a loss.
Well, what is the thought process of the coaching staff on that? Because I was trying to figure out why they did that, right? And getting Don Chaney Jr. to 100 yards seemed like the logical thing. And then after the game, when you ask him about it, I was almost trying to find a reason that he did it and thinking like, okay, well, he's trying to get this guy his first 100 rushing yard game of his career, and he doesn't want to throw him under the bus for fumbling a ball that he didn't actually fumble anyways, right? But then when you look back and you see that he just doesn't kneel the ball, he hasn't done it all year. Why is that? Because then you take away the getting the 100 yards justification from it. He just doesn't want to do it for whatever reason.
Yeah, I think it's some macho stuff, like some macho came out.
Like
it's just like it's not.
Thought it was dishonorable. The coaches thought in the 70s the miracle in the Meadowlands happened because 50 years ago the coaches thought it was dishonorable.
John McVay
to kneel out the clock.
You have this. You built your entire team identity to salt the game away, and they were seemingly doing that, but they were snapping the ball with 6 seconds. They didn't know the scenario. With 90 seconds left in that game, they should have been kneeling. Yeah. They should have been kneeling. And it just didn't register. And you tempt fate, and they fumble a ball that wasn't really a fumble, but no one gives a shit. No one gives a shit. Maybe we can apply human logic. That's why you have a college football playoff committee later in the year if you're looking at how to evaluate the season. For me, as devastating as that was, the shape of the program that Miami is trying to build, the team that they're going to be, isn't necessarily going to be defined by that. There's a long view here, but holy shit, that was really embarrassing.
Stugotz, I forgot another one. Jimmy Johnson's first year, his defensive coaches were in the elevator when Hail Flutie was completed on a game the nation was watching after Thanksgiving. His coaches thought the game was over. They were behaving as if the game was over, right. And Doug Flutie completed a pass in the end zone, and it was, I'm telling you, Saturday night was similar to that.
With what I don't get is, as meticulous as coaches are, we talk about coaches being crazy people, 20-hour days, you're pouring through the data and the video and just doing everything. The fact that Mario isn't acutely aware of his problems when it comes to time management, when it comes to, hey, why don't I maybe kneel this one? Right? Like, how is that not something
Mike
that
is saying he knew, though. He knew the situation.
Usually in different staffs, like I heard, we have to talk about the Miami Hurricanes post-game on QAM for a moment. Because
I listened to the end of the game on radio.
Oh, did you?
That was my experience.
Poor Josie.
Josie, Don Bailey Jr. sounded like he had just witnessed something
like JFK's
horrible in front of him the entire time. And I
he did.
I shit you not. I swear to God, this is how it went. They tossed to Alex Dano and Malik Rozier, who the handoff. First off, Josie is wondering aloud the entire postgame. I don't know the scenario, but I believe they maybe should have knelt. And then by the end, he's like, Don just talks to Cohen and Cristobal in the locker room. Don, we just saw the final play, and it looks like, yes, they definitely should have knelt.
I like sad
coming up next. We toss it to Alex Dano and Malik Rozier in the corporate-sponsored studio. And Dano and Rozier talk about it. They also sound like they've seen JFK's assassination. And the very first spot, the very first commercial break, I'm not making this up. Are you thinking about suicide?
Oh, no.
It was a suicide prevention PSA. It was it's the first, I was almost happy I heard that because everyone in my Wagoneer just started cracking up, and it did, yeah, because I had a whole caravan of sad people. I had like 8 people in my car who were all just devastated by it. Wagoneer burst out in laughs, and it was like, okay, maybe this isn't the worst thing that ever happened in our lives, but yeah, terrible day for me personally. It's a shame because this went from certainly a huge game on Saturday night against North Carolina to a possibly a season that's special. You're going to need to get those breaks. And now it's just, okay, you're in year 2. You're not a year ahead of schedule. I'll tell you what, a lot of people are critical of me because, I'm bought and paid for and all that when it comes to Cristobal. I'm properly pissed. If this were year 3, I wouldn't be pushing back on notions about that's a fireable offense and all that. Like, you can't be doing that. You can't be doing that. When my whole argument for getting Cristobal here wasn't just a talent acquisition, but I was sick and tired of taking these first-time head coaches that were learning on the job, and what Cristobal and the staff did there. Shannon Dawson's not without blame here either. It's a rookie move. It's an egotistical Madden-type play call move, and it's going to ruin their season, you think, even though they control their destiny because they play these teams that are really good inside the ACC. Louisville appears to be a real problem. They play UNC, Clemson, and Louisville. 2 of those games are at home. They play, obviously, FSU later this year. So there's still a chance for this team to be what we thought we were building, especially in the trenches, but that is a soul crusher.
Mike, on that last play, you have a timeout. There's 10 seconds left. I get you don't want to change the thing that they're doing defensively, but how do you not call a timeout and say, hey, guys, there's 10 seconds
they
left?
should
Trying to prevent
They've
a
got
field goal.
45
trying to prevent
seconds.
a field goal.
Yeah, they should have called the timeout. They should have done a million different things there. Haynes King breaks contain. Let Haynes King run.
17 people go chase him.
Everyone chases him. And I saw that play. I got to tell you, I was watching in the Matrix. Like, it was slow motion. I'm just looking at the 2 wide receivers on the right side that look like they have option routes, and I see Haynes King break contain, and I see everyone converge on him, and I'm just looking at the safeties. Cam Kitchens drops down. I see the 2 receivers break off the routes, go behind the safeties. I'm like, oh my God, it's happened.
Was that the first catch
happened.
for that kid this season for Georgia Tech?
I don't know.
What?
Their offense didn't do much of anything. I'm not blaming the defense. I'm not going to do the thing. I'm really trying to stop myself from doing what the emotional thing is. It's like, come on, guys.
Do it.
It wasn't a fumble. But also, there's one reason and one reason only they lost that game. And it wasn't even Tyler Van Dyke's 3 interceptions.
TBD.
They managed that game so poorly. Mario Cristobal and the staff lost the game. And hopefully it doesn't beat them twice. That's what Don Bailey Jr. kept saying in the postgame in his most somber voice. You can't let Georgia Tech beat you twice. So hopefully they can.
North
make
Carolina.
people forget.
North Carolina's really good.
Yeah, big time rat poison week for them. Tez Walker back. They look really impressive. That line is holding steady right now at 3.5, which I think is a little surprising. But all of this is to say, Saturday felt really terrible, and despite all my rational analysis this year and really introspective after 2017, after 18, and after last year, I told myself I wasn't going to be annoying on this microphone, and some of you may find me still annoying anytime I talk about this team, but I don't like how mean people are to me and how much they enjoy my suffering.
Right.
Amin really enjoyed making me suffer.
We'll get to his video from the stadium in just a second.
That was his 13th catch of the season, by the way.
Dan, this is a rare game because before this show started, Taylor, who works with us, also went to UNC, is a big Carolina guy, was saying that a lot of Miami fans are saying this is a rat poison game for North Carolina, to which I was like, oh, okay. And then Mike just said it, so I feel compelled to tell you what he said. He said that he feels like this is the University of Miami is entering a slaughterhouse this week. So this is the rare rat poison slaughterhouse game we have coming up on Saturday.
There's not many. I mean,
UNC's offense is very good. They are physical. I don't know the name. Who was the player on the sideline sitting there just saying again and again after crying with wet hair in his face, what the F are we doing?
Yeah, Matt Lee.
What
Matt
the F
Lee.
are we doing?
Matt Lee, and you'll notice anytime we've tried to heap praise on Tyler Van Dyke, I'm always quick to go to that offensive line. I think Matt Lee's probably been their best overall offensive player this year. And he cares. And the most encouraging thing outside of the one moment of levity with the PSA, the old-time PSA, was hearing the kids actually talk about it because they sounded like the adults. Everyone on the broadcast and the coaching staff sounded really broken by it, but Javian Cohen, guys like Matt Lee, even Tyler Van Dyke, who's always just so cerebral, it does, and from everything that I've heard, they've already gotten past it, so you hope that they can go into UNC and not wear this one.
you don't get past that, Mike. I mean,
Okay.
no, it's a nice thing to say today. Hey, we're past it. We're moving on. We're focusing on UNC. We're taking
Yeah.
on the Tar Heels.
I mean, you don't until
You never
you do.
get past that.
Never?
That will sit with Mario Cristobal for the rest of his life. I
It's always,
promise you.
it does enter that special class that that Dan mentioned about devastating losses.
As I was scrolling through the 7 channels, all of which were talking about the game, one of them had the announcer asking the question, do you think Mario Cristobal goes straight from the stadium to his office to cry? Just does he drive straight there? Because there can't be a worse feeling for a coach within.
He worked the trail after that.
Well, he got NICAR, he got wide receiver help immediately, but
you cost your team a victory. That's the worst feeling. Dan.
It's not just costing a team a victory, though. It is your player on the sideline getting memed, saying, what the F are we doing? So I don't know how much trust you lose from the people involved, but also the profound feeling of regret that you just let everyone down with a decision that can be pointed to and pointed right at you. So many times over the last 20 years, Stugotz, we have seen the professional coaches refusing to do simple things with 2-point conversions and math because they're like, I don't want to get blamed for this.
Right.
I'd rather just do the conservative thing everyone else does so I don't have to spend a week doing the innovative thing and then answering because I lost and people aren't considering process, they're just considering result. It is so rare for you to just be able to point at the coach, and it's not an offensive coordinator, a scheme, a game plan, or anything else. Nope. Your decision cost those kids that game. Your decision has turned a season of hope into laughter in Game 5. And that is hard to overcome. Whether you're on the recruiting trail or not, you've got a soaked depression on you walking around that you're the reason they lost, period.
I got to tell you, it almost seemed like everyone was taking Miami a lot more seriously with that result in hand than they had entering the game, because they're spending an awful lot of time on the 25th team in the nation right now. But I'm with you. It's really, really bad. And I know that people were just kind of following on social media, and he kind of said we teach 2 hands on the ball, and then made it seem like he threw Don Chaney under the bus, which was a really bad look. I was paying extra close attention to Cristobal's comments, and I do think, aside from that one mistake, which I feel terrible for Don Chaney because everyone's saying he fumbled, and the ball came loose after he went down. He didn't fumble, which is a big part of this, but Cristobal has kind of owned up to it and had the right quotes outside of that. But there's not much more meat on this thing. It's the dumbest shit you've seen in a while. They took what could have been an extraordinary season and made it, just a stepping stone year, and that's a bummer. And all you can hope for is big wins against their rivals this year.
And that's what's tough. Like, if you are looking at it from the Miami fan perspective, you bring in Cristobal. He's this great recruiter. He's supposed to turn the program into something, but you see him repeating the same mistakes. And if the greatest criticism of a coach is that he doesn't know how to coach, he's probably not a very good coach.
Well, I'll stop you short there. I'll stop you short. Gus Malzahn
same
made
thing.
a national
I'm worried
title.
about the same thing. I'm worried about the same thing with Gus Malzahn, a great recruiter who can't win in the big moments.
There's a lot of Butch Davis.
Yeah.
There's a lot of unimpressive X's and O's. The most important thing in that sport, in terms of being a national title contender, is talent acquisition.
Yeah, but you can't win if you can't coach.
Mike, the basics.
You can't win the big games.
I literally just gave you 4 examples of dudes that couldn't coach.
All those guys would have taken a knee, Mike.
Probably.
Ed Orgeron won a title.
Yeah, it's
would have taken
come
a
on,
knee,
guys.
though. I mean.
Like in college football, look, there's going to be. This isn't. They weren't. Did you think that UM was a national title contender this year, even as well as they played?
No, but we sat here last week and called them the number 1 team in the nation based off the BCS.
We're being realistic. I've been realistic this entire time. You can isolate one thing that we had fun with a BCS, and this isn't the end of the fucking world. Let's relax.
All right.
This isn't
not
an
what
indictment.
people want today. Not what people want today. And
they
in fact,
want it to be the end of the world,
in
Mike.
fact, Mike, I'm going
Imagine
to.
if it was, though. Like, the world's
I mean,
fate was based
It
on you.
kinda does. It
If
feels like it.
If
Kinda
Cristobal-
does.
If Cristobal was near the decision making on the end of the world, I would not feel like I was confident
And that's my
about
concern.
the world not ending.
You'd feel more confident with Coach O.
That's correct. If I needed Mario Cristobal to just knee kneel to prevent the ending of the world, I don't trust him to do that now.
I mean, because these games are that important, right, to these coaches, to an obsessive-compulsive guy like Coach Cristobal. It is like living and dying, right? And you make that ego-soaked decision. The oozing and machismo, it's just a caveman, we're going to run the ball no matter what mentality. That's why they haven't had a victory formation all season long, despite entering that game undefeated. I really hope that he never makes a mistake like this ever again, but people hold up the Stanford thing, which was a different scenario too. Like a first down ended that game, so you can kind of rationalize it, even though that in its own right was pretty stupid. You hope that he learns from this and doesn't do something stupid ever again. But if you're just going to isolate that one play, the fumble that wasn't actually a fumble, let me tell you something. The disheartening thing is that entire drive was so poorly managed, from when they snapped the ball to the decision on first down to not kneel. There was a lot of bad surrounding that. And in a game that you were on a razor's edge the entire time, you had the game that you needed to survive, the lucky game, and you turned it into a loss. And that's devastating. That's devastating because it's a crashing realization that this season isn't going to feel extra special. It's just year 2 in a 4-year plan, and hopefully you can turn it around and win some big ones.
But it still can feel special. I mean, you have a schedule that's coming up. If this is the only loss of the year, like, it sucks, but you kind of just need to forget about it because the guy has job security. He's not going to lose his job. So you can't let this affect you to the point that you now go on a 2-3 game losing streak because of it.
He's in year 2 of an 8-year, $80 million
deal. You can't get rid of him if you wanted to.
No, you couldn't.
So he needs to just forget about it.
Outside of that's hard to do. That's so
he'll
easy.
never forget about it, Billy.
I don't think he'll ever forget about it.
It's not going to be a one-loss season. It never was going to be a one-loss season. But if it is a one-loss season, I sincerely hope. You will never forget this one, but I sincerely hope.
So now we're hoping you lose more games so that he doesn't feel extra bad about the decision.
I want him to win out.
Let's just play it out. Let's just play it out hypothetically that if they beat all these teams, beat North Carolina on Saturday, which seems tough, they beat FSU.
Louisville.
This is actually a reason why you are happy the BCS isn't around, because the human factor, I really hope, and I genuinely think there are humans that are voting on the top 25, because in seeing social media and seeing how these legacy media companies are handling this, I don't think people know that he didn't actually fumble because of how everyone's talking about it. It's it was just that patently
nobody
stupid.
Cares, Mike.
No one cares.
Like, no one cares.
Which is weird because that's a whole like Miami persecution complex. Like, we usually as a nation like to crush officials. Yeah. And that's not the tie that binds here. Yeah. Everyone is really rallying around laughing at Miami.
Yes.
We like laughing at Miami more than we like hating officials.
It's not just
But Mike,
that.
you can crush a coach, and that comes before officials.
No,
outside, Mike,
not historically.
Mike, outside of things like the Mel Tucker incident, if we're just talking football, X's and O's strategy, no coach in the sport deserves a firing more over a decision made that I can remember than that one. Because he allowed all of the factors, all of the variables, the referees, a bunch of things that he can't control to enter the scenario. Yes, Mike, I could sit there and tell you can't let that offense go 70 yards in 30 seconds. Like, with no timeouts. It's not just the completion they got at the end, the completion before that. Like, you can't let any of that.
That was a dime.
You can't let any of that stuff happen. Georgia Tech's offense isn't any good. Didn't they get rolled by Bowling Green?
Yeah, they went up 14-0 on Bowling Green and had a really puzzling loss that made them fire their defensive coordinator after that. And they came back to win. So, like, it's college football. People do tend to shake off devastating losses.
You did not give the people what they wanted. I am a little...
But I haven't given you what you want. Like, I'm genuinely confused. Like...
Fire someone.
Everyone hates.
You're being.
He wants you to be in pain.
I was. Come on.
You are in pain, and you have soothed yourself
so
a little
sad.
in the last 36 hours. But let's get Amin from the game. Let's get that video. This is Amin El Hassan, a proud Georgia Tech alum, from the stadium at the end of that game.
Well, no sound on it, but he is certainly having the time of his life.
Yes, sound would have been better, but we've got to get video to, get good at video, and then they'll get good at sound after.
Well,
that.
they got the video down.
They
They're
did
the video department in their defense, yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah,
Talk
we're
to
the sound.
audio.
We're the sound department, I guess. I can't do much more than just have the sound pod on, which I did. And if you want to have further indictment, I didn't have it on for your Stephen A. gag, so I'm
All
sorry.
right. Well, it's not really a gag, but let's try that again because we didn't honor you correctly.
Happy birthday to him. I don't care. Good luck.
I don't think you guys are trying to make him have a happy birthday.
You guys sure you don't want to talk Dolphins? I mean, there's been a lot of Dolphins talk this season, but
Mike,
for whatever reason,
Mike,
not today. We always say, we always forget about college football
Mike, I
after
think
Sunday
if
happened.
you go back and listen to the last 30 minutes,
But those
you'll-
referees in Minnesota,
you'll
huh?
hear yourself for 15 of them. So I haven't been able to move to Dolphins,
Right,
Because
okay.
you have spent a lot
on
of
you,
time
Mike.
in
No,
booster
it's,
mode.
It's me talking too much.
You said rat poison like a coach. Twice you said rat poison.
No, Billy said the rat
I've
poison.
been trying to get you to back off 2 times
Yeah.
because I don't believe your tone is sufficiently hurt.
I saw Morrissey. I had a great time at a concert. I looked in my beautiful daughter's eyes, beautiful, gorgeous little Juliet. Yeah. And I realized there are some things more important. Not many. Not many. I'll give it to you. There were maybe 3 things in my life more important than University of Miami football.
Morrissey.
Morrissey was one of them.
Yeah. Dinner.
Still has it. It's golden.
I woke up this morning just because of the video coming out of Israel and the news coming out of Israel. I threw up in the grass outside of my house this morning because of just the general feeling of sickness that I have. Tickers on the news updating body counts on stuff. And I imagine that sports fans, ridiculously perspectiveless, go to bed that night or any night with the things that they care about, with a feeling draped on them that makes it difficult to sleep because you can't believe what it is that you just witnessed.
Here's what I'll give you. I'll give you where I was as it happened, because that's me at my most emotional. My daughter has built a tower filled with water bottles in my Golden Canes box. I am watching that play happen, and then I watch the touchdown and then the weird fumble Ruski type of play that we try, and the final whistle goes off. I'm actually alone in my box. My family has gone downstairs to the bathroom. I'm alone to my thoughts. I do a side kick to the water bottle tower.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's what we want.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
talking
Side
about.
kick to the
Pretend
water
you're
bottle
alone right now,
tower.
That's
Mike.
what I'm
Yes.
talking about.
Get to a place where you're
you
alone.
have healed yourself, and you've covered yourself in coping mechanisms over. Yes, you knocked down your daughter's water. You're beautiful. Your daughter's beautiful art.
Yeah.
I think we should all leave and just let Mike go.
No.
He's not. He's covered up. He's
And I
covered in
kicked
healing.
I kicked the wall.
Nice.
I do scream at the referees. Fuck you!
Good.
Fuck you!
Let it out, Mike.
I screamed that,
but not
and I was like,
against the
"Throw the bottles! Throw the bottles! Fuck you!
But not-
You stole it from us!"
Not Cristobal though. You didn't.
No,
direct
I
any
was
of
screaming at Cristobal before that in the first down. Kneel the fucking ball! What the fuck are we doing?
There you go.
What the
Thank
fuck?
you. That's all we wanted.
So I thought the
Survive
bottles,
in advance! What the fuck?
I thought the bottles people were throwing them, but it was you kicking them.
It was me kicking them.
Yeah.
It wasn't actually fans throwing them at the officials. It was me
What a kick.
after kicking those bottles in the air and saying, we're never gonna overcome this. Season's over. Oh, Dan and Amin are gonna have so much fun. Everyone's so mean to me. I'm gonna give them what they want. I'm so miserable. My life and identity is so tied up in Miami athletics that I can literally never overcome this. I'm broken. I will never, ever amount to anything. My life is essentially over in this moment.
Finally, Josie.
I was going to say, what was Zagacki doing in the middle of that? I heard Zagacki in the middle of that.
I'm a 38-year-old man. Come on, what do you, what the fuck do you want from me? I'm mad.
That's-
You should have knelt.
We could have have left
He
this
shoulda
subject.
knelt.
We could have left this 25 minutes
No, but
ago.
you spent me. You did that little backhanded comment that I was like talking for 15 minutes, which also like today you're gonna fucking trot me out for the first time all football season and take exception on my birthday
just made
that I'm
Jer-
fucking
you
talking
just-
too
you
much.
just made Jeremy's job so much harder with
So
all
much
your
editing.
F words.
Oh, so sorry. I'm fucking talking.
on,
You know, I'm not the only Miami fan here. You're a Miami fan. How'd you feel?
Debatable.
How'd you
Are
feel?
you even a Miami fan anymore?
I will tell you in a second, but Amin is in
You
the
tear down the program.
He's in the Zoom right now, and Amin's got
Belgrade.
commentary for us. Thank you, Stugotz. Wasn't
Always there for you.
Wasn't obvious enough the first time you did it.
Just wanted to make sure. That's all.
Amin, is your sound working? Do we have functioning sound? Mike Ryan was offering you the ability to have better access than you had at the Georgia Tech game, but you were insistent on sitting with your people, correct?
I'm a man of the people, Dan, and I came to the game with my friends who were all GT alums. We had tickets right in the middle of the Miami section because we thought the game was going to be during the day, so we wanted to avoid the sun. And so I said to Mike, "Thank you very much for the gesture, but I'm going to have to politely decline." And by the way, Mike, you said that, "Oh, I was killing you." Dude, I texted you one time yesterday or on Saturday night. And it was
You
just
were
to
you were
ask,
actually in
am I
my
gonna be on
line
the
of
show?
I mean, you were actually in my line of view. You didn't know this, but I would occasionally glance, and you were torturing me all game long. You were on one, my friend.
Just
you
didn't
were
know it.
any time that you turned your back and talked to the people behind you, you were essentially talking to me. You sent me a selfie from before the game. I'm like, oh, he's not that far. He's 2 sections away. And the one Yellow Jackets baseball jersey in that section wasn't hard to find.
How about that?
People are writing in that number one in the BCS is the Miami chant today. It reminds me of what Mike McDaniel said after the game. It was very funny because they've got more yards. They're the greatest show on surf, and they've got more yards than any team ever through the first 5 games of the season. And he's like, well, accomplished our offseason goal of statistical output after 5 games. Miami, the U is back, is BCS number 1 ranked before they played Georgia
I
Tech.
could never take that away from us.
After that, well, Georgia Tech just did.
You don't know how many group chats I circulated that. I'm like, we got to bring the computers back.
But I mean,
Check.
where does this rank with in terms of Georgia Tech football joy for you?
Well, Dan, I mean, I think the thing you got to realize is we know we're terrible. Like, we lost to Bowling Green last week at home by a lot. So we came to this game just like, all right, hang out with my buddies, and maybe we'll catch a fun game or whatever. And we didn't catch a fun game, by the way. No one's talking about that. The game was boring. It was boring. That first half was a slog. I almost fell asleep at halftime, to be honest with you. My friends started taking pictures of me, and that's what woke me up a little bit because I didn't want to be the guy sleeping at the game. But it was really, really dull. But at the end of the game, we walked away, and I said, guys, we got together this weekend, and we had a lot of conversations about, oh, remember that time when we went to this game? Remember when this happened back, 20 years ago, whatever. And I'm like, man, we just added a new memory. This one's in the legend locker. This is one of the greatest Georgia Tech games I've ever been to.
You were with your college friends. How many of them were in town? You were not any kind of sober by the end of that game that you thought was a day game.
I can confirm your report, Dan.
It's a little chilly. I actually only had like half a White Claw at the game. I didn't drink that much because I was very thirsty because it was hot, and I just realized I found out for the first time that Hard Rock Stadium doesn't have air conditioning, not in the concourse, not in the stands, only in the club suites apparently. So I was sweltering. I couldn't believe how thirsty I was. So I just kept buying those bottled waters for like $6 a pop.
Yeah, it's an outdoor stadium.
Yeah, air conditioning. We have it. It's in outdoor stadiums all over the country.
No. Like, you have that in like retractable roofs, but they have big ass fans. That's all you'll have in the concourse. Big ass fans.
They blow AC in modern stadiums. I know you're used to whatever kind of facilities those are, but in modern stadiums, there's air conditioning out there.
Can you give us some more, because you immediately went to social media and started just throwing your head back and laughing, which we would have played for the audience if we had working audio.
So let me just start by saying, number one, I got to stand up for the Miami fans. 99.9% of them were good sports, were classy about it. Like their vitriol was all directed towards who it should have been directed, Mario Cristobal. That is, I want to make that clear because a lot of people I saw were commenting, that's real bold of you to do that at the stadium and all. I'm like, no, man, everybody was cool except for a couple of jokers behind me. And so, like I said, we knew we were terrible. We knew, like, we're probably not going to win this game, but it was boring and we were in it. We had about like 100 yards of total offense, I want to say, in the second half. I mean, we had more first downs from penalties than we did from actual first downs. This is where we were at as a team, right? So we scored our first touchdown, and me and my friends started celebrating. I had my phone up, and I was like, we did it. Like, we did it. And the guy behind me says, sit down and shut up. I'm like, what? He's like, oh, big deal. You guys scored. I said, buddy, do you know how sports work? Like, I'm happy my team scored. You tell me not to be happy? And he starts yelling. I'm like, bro, why are you so mad? And everyone in the section just starts laughing because it's clear this dude is incensed. So he's angry, yelling, I'm not mad. I'm like, you're clearly mad about something. I mean, you guys are winning. Why aren't you happy? Why are you mad at me? And then he starts saying, how many national championships do you guys have? And I was just like, what? What are you talking about? Your last national championship was pre 9/11. What are you talking about? People on the field were born when you guys won one. So then that's when I clicked, and now I'm awake. Now I'm into it. So every time Miami would get the ball on offense, right before they snap, the crowd gets into a hush, I would just yell out real loud, watch out for Michael Irvin. He's been killing us all game. Who's got Willis McGahee? Somebody stop. Clinton Portis is right there. And everyone's dying. I said, yo, they got the DeLorean. Stop them. Stop them from going back in time and bringing Grace onto the field. So then Tyler Van Dyke throws a pick. That's when I sent my first, we got an interception video. And then that's where it really started getting. This dude just yelling. Every time Miami would do something good, he'd start yelling, why did you post that on Le Batard? Huh? Why did you put that on the Le Batard feed?
Well, this is what he ended up putting out in a way that got us all in trouble because now Miami fans are mad at our account for sounding like we're anti-Miami.
Misplaced anger, I'd say.
Yes, I would say. Well,
Miami deserves it
There's
today.
a lot of misplaced anger. Amin got some. I love Amin turning around. What are you so mad about? Did you not watch? Like, it's obvious that you go to a sporting event to feel good, to enjoy your evening. Everyone who left there that cares about Miami left the way Mike did, needing that suicide prevention number as a public service because they were so broken.
Then that was in the third quarter. This dude was mad all game long. It had nothing to, he wasn't even there for the end. I was saving it. He wasn't even there for the end. He had left, right? He missed that whole part, which really upset me. By the way, there was another guy, I call him Angry Fan number 2. At one point, Miami scores a touchdown, and he starts screaming at me, why don't you dap them up? I'm like, what are you talking about? The fans in front of you, the Miami fans in front of you. Why didn't you dap them up when we did something good? When you guys scored, they dapped you up. I was like, first of all, these people in front of me are cool. That's why we've been joking all game long. Second of all, do you want me to congratulate you guys every time something good happens? Fine, I'll do it. So then anytime guys would get like a 3rd and 1 conversion, I would tap my man in front of me and say, hey, man, can I shake your hand? He's like, sure. I would shake his hand, then I would turn and I'd look back at the guy like this? Like this? Am I doing it right? Like this? And everybody in the section was dying laughing again because these two jamokes.
You're playing with fire here. Are you not paying attention to what's going on in America and at stadiums? Like, you are playing with fire, doing that kind of stuff in Miami's land.
Well, two things made me bold. Number one was, again, everybody in the section was on my side because everyone could tell, man, these guys are just here to have a good time. We're not being disrespectful. We're not talking trash. We're just celebrating when our bad team does something mildly positive. So everyone kind of had our backs. But also, I had my boy with me. Now, this is the funny part. The final play when I'm laughing and people see behind me a guy in a gray shirt who looks pissed. Everyone thought he's a Miami fan. That's my buddy Aaron. I went to college with him. He's part of our group. He's upset because of the jamokes who were yelling and talking trash because unlike me, he's not about shenanigans. So I won't lie, Dan. I kind of bet that my buddy was going to take care of business if business had to get taken care of. Just gonna throw that out there.
Let's play the sound now and the video of Amin at the end of that game, really playing with fire with an agitated Miami fan base all around him.
So good.
I did see that as he was recording it. And then the kickback of the neck. Really, like I just got taken back. There's choppers going on.
You got him good,
There's choppers in the
This makes
background.
it so much better. It makes me feel so much better now knowing that Mike could see all of this in real time. But guys, really quick, I do have a top 5. from the game.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we're
top
out of time. I'm so sorry. Yeah, no, we don't need to get to your top
I want to
5.
get to his top 5.
You sure?
Yes.
What is the top 5?
We will talk Dolphins nationally.
Can you make it a top 3?
They're a national story.
I can be quick.
You got outside looking in, or just start with number
No,
5?
just go to the 5.
That's 5.
What's the subject? Top 5 what?
Okay. Neil puns.
Number 5.
Neil, do not mess this up.
You want to stay with this?
4.
I try to stop you, man.
Nelt Carter, star of You Take the Good, You Take the Bad, You Kneel the Ball, and there you have the facts of life.
Number 3.
Neil on Grass Tyson.
That's the first one I actually get. I didn't get the other two.
Right,
because you don't know Nell Carter.
You get it. It doesn't mean it's good, but you get it.
Number 2.
The captain had to kneel.
Now that one I know.
Smiled, I
Captain Tennille's
smiled.
Yeah,
not
but
there.
he's going. That's 1970s. He's going with really musty references. Finally, Facts of Life was the most modern, and that's like what 80s. Number 1.
Liam Nielsen. No.
Thank
He's
you.
gone too far.
All right. I mean, thank you for being on with us. He woke
Top
up.
3 would have been
He
fine.
woke
It's
up
great seeing you.
very early. Very early out west. He was texting us this morning, hey, I'm up. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm up and I'm ready to come on. If you guys just
Can
want
you kick him out of the Zoom?
Captain
if you just want to throw,
This is some bullshit.
if you want to just turn on the YouTube for everybody, I'll
Could have
just
done 45 minutes on that Aggies win.
sit there smiling.
I had to talk about the Aggies win 2 weeks after.
Mike, nobody wants to do that. You
No, I know.
understand that.
No, I understand. I understand exactly what the whole setup is here, and I hope you guys are happy that I'm sad.
The Miami Dolphins yesterday, Stugotz. This is rare in the modern age of football. Not only Wink Martindale saying, their defensive coordinator of the Giants, hey, this is the greatest show on turf except supersonic. Like this, you know, you don't hear professional coaches talking the way Wink Martindale was talking, where he's like, yeah, I slept like a baby before facing this offense. I got up every 2 hours and started crying. And for the Dolphins, you know, the rare part of what I saw yesterday, rarer than even a Dolphin team that has giant plays, giant explosive plays, and is clearly the fastest team in the league. Not the best. San Francisco and Philadelphia can stake that claim. But to me, what I saw yesterday against a bad team, even though it's a bad team, to win by 15 when you're -3 on turnovers and one of the 3 is a pick 6,
Yep.
that doesn't happen a lot in the NFL, where you've got a -3 on the turnovers and one of them is allowing points that are 102 yards and you're still covering the spread and you're still winning by 2 touchdowns as the Giants play a reasonably strong game for the Giants and an efficient game for the Giants because they weren't spinning the ball up. They were getting sacked, but half as many times as they got sacked the week before.
I want to get to the spread in a second, but they ran the ball 23 times for 222 yards. Like, they're averaging 9.5 yards per carry. They could have only run the ball yesterday and still won by the same score, perhaps even more, because that eliminates the pick 6.
Achan had 11 touches, and how many yards is he getting per touch now?
Like 11.
11 carries, 151 yards yesterday. So
And they kicked the tires on every running back in the sport this offseason, and they've got someone who's outperforming all of them.
Yeah.
He has been better than everyone in the league at the position that they were trying to get to play the position for them when they already had him on the roster.
Just quickly, because the Dolphins were my big play yesterday, just to address the spread, I have never been so terrified to see Tyrod Taylor in my life. I mean,
that back door was wide open for him. He was gunning for it.
I was a nervous wreck.
He survived.
God bless football, where you can find all of Stugotz's gambling biases soaked into every ounce of the analysis.
All right, that wasn't so bad. We're on break.